Parker Schnabel, one of the most recognizable faces on Gold Rush, has hit a rough patch. Known for his sharp instincts and aggressive expansion strategy, Parker took a major gamble this season by moving operations to Dominion Creek. But instead of delivering big results, the site has turned into a financial nightmare. The Dominion Creek claims were supposed to represent the future of Parker's mining empire. Vast untapped ground with the potential for massive gold hauls. But that promise has not materialized. The ground has proven far more difficult than anticipated, filled with poor pay and tough digging conditions. Instead of striking it rich, Parker has been forced into survival mode. In candid moments this season, Parker has opened up about just how dire things have become. He described the situation as both complicated and expensive, admitting that Dominion has been a painful learning experience. Despite hopes for future payoffs, the current reality is bleak. There simply isn't enough gold coming out of the ground to cover the mounting costs of his operation. Behind the scenes, the pressure is intense. Equipment maintenance, crew salaries, fuel, and operational logistics all demand constant cash flow. Cash that's now in short supply, and with no major gold scores to show for his efforts. Parker had to make a tough call that would have once seemed unthinkable: sell off some of his valuable mining equipment. One of the people who took advantage of this opportunity was fellow miner Brian McCon. Aware that Parker might be under financial strain, Brian approached him looking to pick up emergency gear. He had his eye on a particular tractor, one of the better machines in Parker's fleet. Despite the machine's high value, Parker was willing to talk numbers, a clear sign of his urgent need for money. The negotiation revealed just how serious the situation had become. While Parker initially quoted a price that reflected the tractor's true worth, $2,000, he quickly found himself unable to hold firm. Brian countered with a much lower offer, suggesting something closer to $150,000. Normally, Parker is a tough negotiator, but this time was different. Pressed by financial necessity, he proposed a compromise near the lower end of the range, around $165,000. Brian nudged the price down a little more, and Parker ultimately agreed to sell the machine for just $162,000. For viewers and longtime fans of Gold Rush, the scene was jarring. This wasn't the confident, non-nonsense Parker Schnabel who built his fortune with grit and precision. This was a man cornered by circumstance, selling off equipment he needed at prices he wouldn't have accepted in better times. Even Brian McCon seemed surprised by how easily the deal was made. Reflecting on the transaction afterward, he speculated that Parker might be in deeper trouble than he was letting on. Perhaps the gold totals weren't anywhere near expectations. Perhaps Brian thought Parker was simply getting desperate. Parker himself didn't shy away from acknowledging the truth. He admitted that his operation wasn't making money the way it should be. In fact, he went so far as to call the situation embarrassing. For a miner who built his career on consistency and discipline, this season has been a humbling experience. The sale to McCon marked more than just a transfer of machinery. It was a symbol of a turning point. Dominion Creek, once seen as a bold next step in Schnabel's expansion, has instead become a costly burden, forcing him to sacrifice both pride and assets just to keep the lights on. As the season continues, all eyes will be on Parker to see if he can turn things around. Can he find better ground at Dominion before it's too late? Or will this chapter mark the beginning of a major setback in his mining career? One thing is certain: Parker Schnabel is learning once again that in the gold mining business, even the most calculated risks can carry devastating consequences. In the gold mining world, failure is often seen as the end of the road. It's expensive, it's painful, and it's public, especially when your journey is followed by millions of viewers each week on a hit show like Gold Rush. For Parker Schnabel, the challenges he's facing at Dominion Creek may actually become one of the most pivotal and transformative experiences of his career. At just 30 years old, Parker has already spent more than half his life in the mining industry. He took over his grandfather's Big Nugget mine as a teenager and quickly proved he had the drive and intelligence to compete with seasoned veterans. Over the years, viewers have watched him grow from a determined young man into one of the most successful miners on television. He's run massive wash plants, hauled in thousands of ounces of gold, and led loyal crews through freezing winters and unpredictable terrain. But success comes with risk. And this season, that risk has caught up with him. When Parker set his sights on Dominion Creek, the move was bold but calculated. The claim had the size and long-term potential to sustain his operation for years. On paper, it seemed like a smart play, fresh ground, remote location, and the kind of untouched territory that could produce serious gold. Parker even invested heavily in equipment and infrastructure to make it work. But reality doesn't always match the plan. Dominion has turned out to be a logistical and geological challenge. The pay layer is inconsistent. The ground has been largely unproductive, and the sheer costs of hauling, digging, and processing have outpaced the returns. Parker has described the site as a learning curve, a humble phrase that barely captures the depth of frustration and disappointment visible on his face. This season, the gold totals are far below expectations, and the financial strain is becoming impossible to ignore. Even with years of success behind him, Parker now finds himself in a place he hasn't been in a long time, struggling to keep the operation afloat. In an effort to free up cash, he made the painful decision to sell off some of his equipment. It's a move that speaks volumes about the seriousness of the situation. For someone as calculated and forward-thinking as Parker, letting go of machinery isn't just a financial decision, it's a personal one. In a telling moment, Parker negotiated the sale of a tractor to fellow miner Brian McCon. Initially firm on his price, Parker soon gave in, agreeing to a lower number simply because, in his words, "I need the money." It was a rare glimpse into the kind of pressure that's often hidden behind the camera. A miner fighting to keep his dream alive while bills pile up and the gold refuses to show. Brian himself seems surprised by the deal, speculating afterward that Parker might be in deeper trouble than he's letting on, and viewers couldn't help but notice a shift in Parker's demeanor. The confident leader who once negotiated from a position of strength was now clearly cornered, forced into compromise by circumstance. And yet, this moment, this very public setback, may prove to be Parker's most valuable experience yet. Failure, especially at this level, has a way of reshaping people. It forces a reevaluation of priorities, strategies, and leadership. It demands humility, and it often produces growth that success never could. Parker is no stranger to pressure, but this season is different. He's not just managing a tough ground or a short-term delay. He's confronting the possibility that his biggest gamble may not pay off, and how he responds to that will define the next chapter of his career. Rather than running from it, Parker appears to be facing it head-on. He's transparent about the struggles, candid about the financial challenges, and willing to make difficult calls to keep the operation alive. That kind of honesty and resilience isn't just admirable, it's a powerful example to anyone chasing a dream, whether in mining or any other high-risk industry. This could very well be a turning point for Parker. Dominion may not deliver a record gold haul, but it could offer something even more valuable: experience, a deeper understanding of how to assess new ground, a better grasp of when to push and when to pivot, and perhaps most importantly, a humbling reminder that no miner, no matter how successful, is immune to the risks of the trade. We've watched Parker lead massive crews, engineer complex mining operations, and strike it big in some of the harshest environments on Earth. But what we're seeing now is something different. A young leader being tested not by success, but by struggle, and how he chooses to rebuild will be the true test of his legacy.